When you think about capital cities across Europe, you'll find that most have football clubs with rich histories. Now, Berlin, believe it or not, is one of those capital cities, but it's often overlooked. So it might not have the glamorous clubs that London has, for example, Chelsea, Fulham, Arsenal, Tottenham, West Ham, Millwall. Okay, so not all of them are glamorous, but this season in the Premier League, there are 7 teams from London. The Bundesliga, just 1. And to some fans, that's even debatable, as Union Berlin are actually on the outskirts in Köpenick. We went to their ground, Stadion an der Alten Försterei, a few weeks ago for that controversial game versus VfL Bochum. We checked out their western rivals, Hertha, at the Olympiastadion, but whilst over there I checked out a few smaller stadiums in Berlin, and the ones I didn't get a chance to check out we'll still look at in this video today. So ladies and gents, welcome to Football Paradise and willkommen in Berlin. So let's get the Bundesliga club out the way first. Union Berlin reached the Bundesliga for the very first time in 2019. Now this might seem surprising for younger fans, but you need to remember they fell on the eastern side of Berlin during the DDR era. They didn't have the backing that their controversial rival, BFC Dynamo Berlin, had during the Oberliga era, so have a modest history in terms of silverware. Like many East German clubs after reunification, they suffered financially and on numerous occasions were denied promotions due to that instability. But fortunately, they have some of the most loyal fans around. As I said the other week outside the stadium, Union Berlin fans literally bled for the club, donating blood and in return donating money to keep the club alive. When the club had to improve the stadium, but they were suffering financially, the fans once again stepped up and helped build this place into what it is today. When Union secured that promotion in 2019, they became the first club from East Berlin to reach the Bundesliga. After finishing 11th in that very first season, the next season they go on to qualify for the Europa Conference League. The season after, they qualified for the Europa League, and the season after that, they qualified for the bloody Champions League. So things went really well in their first few seasons, or first 4 seasons in the Bundesliga. They didn't have quite as good a season last year, and they've drifted down the table this year, but they very much solidified themselves as a top-tier Bundesliga club. It is a remarkable story, and even after what happened versus VfL Bochum, with the Union fans throwing a lighter at the Bochum goalkeeper, even after all that shenanigans, I still have the utmost respect for Union Berlin as a club. Ladies and gents, I'm currently outside the oldest active football club in Germany. Now it might be a little bit confusing because BFC Germania, 1888, I'm not sure what that is in German, 1888. You might be confused, 1888, because I'm wearing a VfL Bochum top, which has 1848, a whopping 40 years before BFC Germania. You think, why aren't Bochum the oldest club? Well, we're talking specific football club, because as you know, most football clubs in their early years in Germany started off as a general sports club doing athletics and other sports, but Germania were a football club from day one. So I'm going to try and get close by where they're currently playing, have a look round and find out more about Germany's oldest active club. Let's go. So as you can see already guys, access inside here might not be possible because you've got the metal fencing the whole way around, but as I look through the bars, it doesn't actually look like there are any stands or anything, or any signs that this actually is the home of BFC Germania. Now, we've got slight confirmation from that worn off bit of cloth on top of that building over there, and Google Maps is putting their home right here as well. But you'd have thought, for such a significant club being the oldest, there would be something to mark that, you know, a big plaque or at least a sign, because in England, we've got Sheffield FC, who have been recognised by FIFA as the oldest active football club in the world. Now, Sheffield FC, if you follow them on Instagram, find any way possible to remind you of that fact that they are the oldest. Not the case here in Germany. You know what us English are like, we do go on a little bit. So I worked for Royal Mail for a number of years and we got rid of the bikes a long time ago. German postmen. Oh, we might have a way in. Me talking about German postmen, and I think we might have made our way in, guys. Here we go. No, once again, no access. This might be one of those videos. We don't encounter them very often. We normally do find a way in, but this might be one that's quite boring and we might not have much to see. So still nothing from BFC Germania, but we've got the old Hansa Rostock. So I just had to double check. If you do go on Wikipedia or Google the club, they'll tell you they're playing at Sportplatz an der Gurtstrasse. That's Gurtstrasse down here. That's where we're parked. So that's got to be it. Wow, how bloody disappointing was that? There we go then, guys, just one measly sign over there. Let's have a little wander through this way. So the actual building that Google has as kind of their base is this building here, I believe, which does look like it's been abandoned since reunification of Berlin. Looks like it's not been touched since the late 80s, early 90s. But there is an 1888 over there, so maybe that's something. Now we're talking, guys. That is parts of the badge. So you go then, guys, if you do want to visit the home of Germany's oldest active club, come on match day, get in there, put some money into the club, buy a few pints. But for me, let's move on to the next adventure. In the past, we've made videos on the early years of German football, one of which we filmed in Dresden, when we spoke about Dresden English Football Club and how many people believe that was the very first football-specific club created in Germany to play the modern version with similar rules to the sport we all know and love today. Of course, in 2025, they don't exist. So, BFC Germania, 1888, have the claim of being the oldest still in existence. However, Berlin, in general, was a real hotspot in Germany during football's early years in the country. And did you know that 24 of the 86 founders of the DFB, Germany's version of the FA, came from Berlin, with one of those being arguably one of the most famous clubs, Hertha BSC. Founded in 1892, Hertha Berliner Sportclub play at the Wembley of Germany, the Olympiastadion. The club is known as Die Alte Dame, the old lady, and I think they are West Berlin's most decorated club, having won the German Championship twice in 1930 and 31, along with the very first Berlin Championship in 1905, and loads of Berlin championships after that. Despite the size of the club, they're currently stuck in Germany's second division, the Zweite Bundesliga, and I'll be honest, things aren't going too smoothly at the moment for Hertha, as we saw firsthand. Back to the east now, and of course we need to talk about the most successful club in the DDR Oberliga era, Stasi FC. I'm only joking. BFC, Berliner Fußballclub Dynamo. Although they currently compete in the fourth tier of German football, they absolutely dominated East German football from 1979 to 1988, winning the Oberliga 10 years in a row. Now, as many of you will know, some people feel that they might have had some unfair advantages. There might have been something fishy going on. Possible corruption, which is a little bit strange considering their connection to the Stasi. Initially founded in 1954, there was a need to establish a competitive side in Berlin, so they literally gave the club the players from Dynamo Dresden and also their spot in the DDR Oberliga. Apparently, lots of people in the east were still supporting Hertha from the west, so they wanted to give the people a competitive side to represent East Berlin. East German football was reorganised in the mid-60s, and head of the Stasi was made honorary president of the club in 1966. Despite financial support, as we've already mentioned, it took until the late 70s before their dominance emerged. After the Berlin Wall came down in 89 and the Stasi was dissolved in 1990, despite a rebrand to FC Berlin, the club struggled and has never played above the 3rd division in a reunified Germany. Of course, some fans won't be happy with this, but they're often known as a bit of a right-wing club. Maybe some hooligans, but in 2025, is it 2025 yet? They're trying to rid of that reputation, and as I sit here in a VfL Bochum hoodie, I believe they share a Freundschaft with Bochum. So if that is the case, we need to show them some love and get back to Berlin to check out Dynamo Berlin. It's an interesting story, a club with a lot of history. I know some of it controversial, but still very, very interesting. So here we go then, guys, back at another ground. We're at the Mommsen Stadion. Now this is the home to tennis Borussia Berlin. I think there's a few different ways of saying their name. And we're going to have a little look round, so let's have a wander. Again, even my dodgy German would predict that to mean nobody in, UPS, leave the parcel somewhere else. I don't know, I might be wrong. But already we've got the branding, Tennis Borussia Berlin. Even on the post box, we've got stickers. I didn't even see those. No cops, no Nazis. Already a bigger club than BFC Germania. So one thing we always say is that the German football grounds or even the clubs are kind of multiple sport clubs and there's loads of facilities on site, but very few would claim a casino. Tennis Borussia do. Now a quick browse of Wikipedia has their founding date as 1902. They play in blue and white, which as a Bochum fan is good. And this stadium, the Mommsen Stadion, holds over 15,000 people. You can see the old school floodlights, again as a Bochum fan, rather reminiscent of the beautiful Ruhrstadion. Very British as well. I'm liking this so far. So when we went to the home of Union Berlin, Stadion an der Alten Försterei, you see a similar thing outside that stadium. A little bit of the history, should I say, on the Fußball route Berlin. And this is really good because I did wonder in my head, I guessed that this would have been classed as West Germany, West Berlin, with its proximity fairly close to the Olympiastadion. And of course, that's true. They played in the regional ligas, Regional League Berlin. They've been in the Zweite Bundesliga. They've got a pretty good history. Okay, guys, so they've got an English rear side for us dopey British. As it says here, they were founded in 1902 as a recreational club that added a football section. Maybe we'll get on to why they're called tennis. In the 1920s, they developed into one of Berlin's leading teams. Competed against Hertha. Again, we mentioned the Olympiastadion, the close proximity to Hertha. They were state of the art at the time. They hired a business manager, revolutionary trainers. So it does say here that they have a deep history with like a multicultural fan base or beginnings. I'm not sure how to word it, but they did have a big Jewish community. And obviously off the back of the Second World War, almost the heart of this club was ripped out because we know what happened to the Jewish community. So this is fairly typical of a German stadium, a little bit lower down the divisions. They're very difficult to get in. I mean, the ones higher up the divisions are even more difficult, of course, but there's a lot of gates around the outside. In English grounds, we tend to have more of an internal concourse, but you can get right up close. However, looking through, it does look pretty much untouched as it would have back when they were in the first Bundesliga, the main Bundesliga. I said they got to the Zweite Bundesliga, but in the 70s, the mid-70s, they went up into the Bundesliga, went straight back down, won the Zweite Bundesliga, and then went straight back down again. from the Bundesliga. So this was at one point in the 1970s a Bundesliga stadium. In typical traditional German style, you've got the curves, you've got the terracing, all open. You've got the main grandstand over there, I believe, that's covered over. But again, still fairly common in Germany to have open terracing. And let's be honest, their weather is even colder than ours at the moment in Berlin. So I always thought we had roofs because of the rain, but we're just a bit soft compared to the Germans. So many people think the name Tennis Borussia Berlin has something to do with tennis and table tennis. Well, they would be right, because that is why they're called Tennis Borussia Berlin. Their origin started as a tennis and table tennis club, and again, like a lot of German clubs, we say this in every video, they branched out at a later date into football. There might be a way down there, down the path, to get a closer look, guys, but it's looking a bit dodgy, I'm not going to lie to you. I think it's full of maybe homeless people down there. So that's as good as we're going to get for Tennis Borussia. Let's move on to our next stadium. Let's go. The Werner Seelenbinder Sportpark, the home to SV Tasmania Berlin, who are often considered, factually are, the Bundesliga's worst ever team from their one and only season in the Bundesliga all the way back in 1965-66. We all like to laugh at this club for setting a record for the least points, fewest goals, most goals conceded and fewest wins in a Bundesliga season, but they were only added to the league just 2 weeks before the start of the season. So Hertha Berlin were thrown out of the Bundesliga for financial reasons. Apparently it was important to have a Berlin-based club representing the city in the league. Tennis Borussia Berlin were considered too weak after failing in the promotion playoff rounds. Spandau Ballet? No, wrong Spandau. Spandauer SV declined the invitation, so like Vincent Kompany at Bayern, they didn't care about being chosen as third choice, they gladly accepted the invitation. Despite winning their opening game versus Karlsruhe, we all know the story, or most of us do anyway, it didn't go too well, they suffered financially and they currently find themselves in Germany's 5th tier, the regional league. But unlike Spandauer SV, at least they're still in existence. Along with Dynamo Berlin and Tennis Borussia Berlin, 3 more Berlin-based clubs play in the 4th division. Victoria Berlin, VSG Ausgleichnicker, SV Lichtenberg, 47. There's loads of clubs in Berlin. Now, this video has only just touched the surface when it comes to football in Berlin. There's so many stories to tell, there's so many clubs to visit. There's also like more ethnic clubs, there's clubs which represent the Turkish communities in Berlin, there's clubs which represent the Polish communities. There's loads going on and I very much look forward to returning to the capital city in 2025. Hope you've enjoyed this video. We are going to be back in Deutschland, but over to the west in the Ruhrgebiet and also a little bit further south to Frankfurt, maybe Stuttgart, coming up in January. So make sure you do hit that like button, subscribe if you liebe Deutschen Fußball like me, and I'll see you for another video like this. Auf Wiedersehen.